Have you ever met someone who seemed perfect, but then something tiny happened and you saw a side of them that shocked you? Today, I'm going to reveal a simple test that can show a woman's true character in just seconds, yet most people completely miss it. Pay close attention because this might change the way you see people forever. First impressions are something we often underestimate, yet they are powerful windows into a person's character. From the very first moment we meet someone, subtle cues, tiny gestures, and even the way they carry themselves can tell us more than hours of conversation ever could. The truth is, people rarely think about how much they reveal in those initial seconds, but the way someone responds when a situation is new or unfamiliar speaks volumes about who they truly are. It's not about the clothes they wear, the smile they flash, or the words they say. It's about the little things, the pauses, the glances, and the honesty in their reactions. When someone first enters a room, the way they make eye contact, the tone of their voice, or the softness or sharpness in their gestures can immediately reveal their level of confidence, respect, and empathy. A first impression is more than just a fleeting moment. It is a silent test that the subconscious mind is constantly running, picking up on micro expressions, energy, and intention without anyone even realizing it. It's fascinating how, in just a few seconds, you can sense whether a person is genuine or masking something deeper. First impressions are rarely fabricated. Even someone who tries to put on a mask will have cracks that show through. The way a woman responds when she's greeted warmly or when she sees someone struggling with a small problem often reveals more than any long conversation could. Does she smile genuinely, acknowledging the other person with warmth, or does she nod politely but turn away, distant and disconnected? Does she speak with kindness, or does her tone carry subtle judgment, impatience, or indifference? These seemingly minor details in the first interaction can reflect patterns of behavior that will continue in bigger, more significant moments later on. The energy someone radiates when they first meet, you can set the tone for everything that follows because it is a direct reflection of their inner self, their values, their temperament, and their emotional intelligence. Even beyond behavior, first impressions are shaped by how a person handles unexpected moments, like a sudden delay, a surprising question, or a situation that requires patience. This is where character truly begins to show. Some people shine in these moments, offering calm, thoughtful reactions, showing compassion, or a quiet strength that draws others in. Others reveal impatience, self-centeredness, or insecurity in ways that are subtle but impossible to ignore. What makes first impressions so revealing is that there is no rehearsal. People do not have time to overthink, edit, or carefully craft a response, which is why these moments are so telling. It's not about judging someone hastily, but noticing the instincts, choices, and energy they naturally bring to the first encounter, because these instincts often persist in how they treat others over time. The quiet attention to detail, the unspoken respect, and the authenticity behind a smile can speak louder than words. And it is in these moments that we often learn the truth about a person before they even realize they are being observed. Empathy is one of the clearest mirrors of a person's true character, and it is often in moments of quiet observation that we can tell whether someone leans toward understanding or selfishness. It's easy to smile, to laugh, or to appear polite when things are going well, but the real test of character comes when life puts small challenges in the way, or when someone else's vulnerability is laid bare. A woman who genuinely feels empathy will instinctively notice these moments, even if no one points them out. She will pause, listen, and respond in a way that shows she sees beyond herself, acknowledging the feelings and needs of others without expecting anything in return. Empathy is not a performance, it is an inner awareness, a gentle pull to connect, comfort, and support. It is shown not in grand gestures, which anyone can stage, but in the tiny, often overlooked reactions. The hand offered to help pick up something that fell, the reassuring smile when someone hesitates, the patient listening when someone struggles to find the right words. These small moments, when strung together, form a clear picture of a person's capacity to care and their willingness to step outside the confines of their own needs. Selfishness, on the other hand, is subtle but unmistakable when contrasted with empathy. It doesn't always appear as obvious rudeness or cruelty. Often it hides behind politeness, charm, or even humor. A selfish person's reactions are filtered through the lens of their own convenience and comfort. If helping another person requires effort, time, or emotional investment, they hesitate, deflect, or redirect attention back to themselves. The problem is that selfishness in small, seemingly inconsequential moments tends to grow over time, slowly revealing a pattern that affects relationships, trust, and emotional connection. For instance, when someone is in distress, a selfish response might be a quick nod and a polite smile, quickly turning the conversation back to personal experiences or achievements, offering no genuine comfort or understanding. These are the moments that define how someone values others' feelings in comparison to their own. Empathy and selfishness exist on a spectrum, and the balance between them becomes evident through repeated interactions, through patience, observation, and attention to subtle cues that many people overlook because they are too busy focusing on what the person says rather than how they make others feel. Empathy also requires emotional courage, and this is where it stands apart from selfishness in its truest form. It takes effort to step into another person's experience, to feel what they feel, and to act without expecting praise or recognition. Some people shy away from this because it is uncomfortable or inconvenient, but the ones who embrace it reveal a depth of character that cannot be faked. The difference becomes starkly apparent in moments of stress, frustration, or unexpected need. Someone who is empathetic will extend a hand, a word, or a gesture without hesitation, sensing that their action matters to the emotional landscape of another person. The selfish, however, will calculate, hesitate, and prioritize their own comfort, masking their reluctance under forced politeness or distracted attention. It is in these interactions, repeated over time, that empathy or selfishness emerges as a defining quality, shaping the foundation of trust, respect, and meaningful connection. Honesty under pressure is one of the truest tests of a person's character because it reveals who they are when the stakes are high and the comfort of deceit or avoidance is tempting. It's easy to tell the truth when there is nothing to lose, when the path is clear and when consequences are minimal. But when someone faces a situation that challenges their integrity, when the truth could upset plans, hurt feelings, or even create conflict, that is when real character is revealed. A woman's honesty in such moments shows not only her moral compass, but also her courage, self respect, and respect for those around her. It is in the tension between personal convenience and moral responsibility that her choices speak louder than any words. Because the world rarely sees these struggles, and yet they shape the essence of who she is. People who maintain honesty under pressure show consistency, an unwavering alignment between what they believe, what they feel, and what they express. And this is the quality that builds trust over time, a foundation so fragile that even small cracks in integrity can create long-lasting doubt. Pressure can come in many forms, often disguised as everyday situations that require a decision, a response, or a small action that tests authenticity. It could be admitting a mistake at work, owning up to a forgotten promise, or speaking truth to someone who expects flattery or compliance. In these seemingly ordinary moments, the choice to be honest or to take the easier route of deception reveals how much a person values truth, not as an abstract concept, but as a lived practice. Some people avoid honesty because it makes them uncomfortable, because it may expose vulnerability, or because they fear judgment. But those who embrace honesty under pressure demonstrate emotional resilience, showing that they can face consequences without compromising their principles. Their truthfulness is not performative. It is a reflection of their inner strength, a silent declaration that integrity matters more than fleeting comfort or temporary approval. It is also important to recognize that honesty under pressure is rarely about perfection or an absence of mistakes. It is about accountability and authenticity. A woman who admits when she is wrong, who does not shift blame or distort reality, demonstrates maturity and self-awareness. She does not hide behind excuses, charm, or manipulation, even when the situation could be resolved by bending the truth. This level of honesty signals that she values clarity, respect, and emotional honesty, not just convenience. Conversely, those who avoid honesty under pressure often display subtle signs of self-interest, defensiveness, or emotional avoidance, which can erode trust over time. Their discomfort with truth may manifest as vague explanations, incomplete information, or redirection, small behaviors that hint at a larger reluctance to engage authentically with the world. Honesty under pressure is ultimately a reflection of inner integrity and moral courage because it requires facing discomfort, confrontation, and sometimes disappointment without compromising who one is. It is not the grand gestures or dramatic confessions that define it, but the quiet, consistent choices made in moments that are often unnoticed, yet deeply revealing. The tension between fear, convenience, and truth acts as a filter, separating superficial character from authentic character, and the ability to navigate this tension with transparency demonstrates a level of personal strength and emotional maturity that cannot be faked. The way a woman reacts to small gestures often reveals far more about her character than grand actions ever could, because these little moments strip away pretense and expose her true nature. Small gestures, holding a door, offering a smile, helping someone carry a heavy load, or even a simple thank you may seem insignificant to the casual observer, but they are profound tests of empathy, patience, and attentiveness. They are the quiet, almost invisible moments in which personality and values surface naturally, unforced and unpolished. When a woman acknowledges these gestures with genuine gratitude, softness, or care, it signals that she notices the world around her, that she values kindness, and that she carries a respect for others in her heart. Conversely, dismissive reactions, indifference, or a lack of acknowledgement often hint at self-centeredness or a limited awareness of the people and energy surrounding her, because how one responds to the simplest acts of consideration is often a microcosm of how she engages in larger, more meaningful situations. These reactions are particularly telling because they are spontaneous, unplanned, and often reveal instinct rather than deliberation. People may rehearse words or manipulate appearances in major interactions, but small gestures happen in real time and provoke immediate responses, which makes them authentic indicators of temperament. A woman who consistently responds to small gestures with warmth, humility, or attentiveness shows that her kindness is not performative, but ingrained in her character. She is aware that life is made up of countless tiny interactions, and each one carries weight, whether she is conscious of it or not. On the other hand, someone who overlooks, ignores, or minimizes these moments may unintentionally communicate a lack of empathy or a preoccupation with self-interest, revealing that her focus is less on connection and more on convenience or appearance. These nuances are subtle, but when observed carefully, they accumulate into a very clear picture of a person's inner priorities and values. Moreover, reactions to small gestures are often tests of emotional intelligence because they show how a person processes the intentions of others without judgment or expectation. When someone offers help, compliments sincerely, or performs an act of kindness, the way a woman responds can indicate whether she can recognize effort without entitlement, whether she feels gratitude without expectation, and whether she can reflect understanding without self centered interpretation. It's not just about politeness, it is about authenticity, the natural alignment of thought, feeling, and action in moments that are often overlooked. Over time, these small reactions serve as a mirror for her character because they are repeated, consistent, and reveal patterns of empathy, humility, and social awareness. In a world where grand gestures are often celebrated and magnified, it is the small moments that hold the deepest truth. They are unguarded, intimate windows into how someone treats the unseen, the unnoticed, and the understated elements of life. They test patience, gratitude, and presence in a way that larger actions rarely do because the stakes are lower and yet the honesty of response is higher. A person's reaction to these gestures is a subtle but undeniable indicator of how she values connection, respect, and the humanity of others. And in observing these tiny interactions closely, one can often predict how she will behave in situations of greater importance. Consistency is one of the most revealing aspects of a person's character because it demonstrates not just who they are in fleeting moments, but who they are over time, across situations, and when no one is watching. Many people can appear kind, caring, or responsible in a single instance, when attention is focused on them or when circumstances are favorable. But true character is measured in repetition, in the quiet persistence of values that remain intact despite changing circumstances. A woman who is consistent in her actions, her words, and her emotions shows a depth of integrity that cannot be faked or performed for convenience. Her reliability, patience, and authenticity become evident through repeated small acts, not just isolated gestures. It is in the predictability of her behavior when she treats people with the same respect, whether in public or private, that her true nature shines. People who are inconsistent, on the other hand, may reveal charm and warmth in some moments, but exhibit coldness, neglect, or indifference in others, hinting at a fragility of character that depends on circumstance rather than principle. Consistency is especially important in relationships because it creates trust and stability. When a person acts in alignment with their words and intentions consistently, those around them feel safe, valued, and understood. They know that kindness is not conditional, that honesty is not situational, and that empathy is not selective. For example, a woman who responds patiently and thoughtfully in times of difficulty, who offers care and support without being prompted, and who maintains her integrity even when it would be easier to take a shortcut, demonstrates a reliability that is rare and profoundly meaningful. It is in these repeated patterns, the accumulation of small, steady acts, that one can truly assess whether her character is built on solid principles or fragile appearances. Consistency is not about perfection, it is about alignment. Alignment between thought, feeling, word, and action. And it is this alignment that allows others to measure authenticity, dependability, and moral strength. Another reason consistency is key is that it reveals resilience under pressure. People are tested not when life is smooth, but when unexpected challenges arise, when emotions run high, or when personal desires conflict with what is right. A woman who maintains her values, her compassion, and her integrity in such moments proves that her character is not situational. She does not bend with convenience or adopt a different face for each audience. Her actions reflect an internal consistency that comes from clarity of self and strength of principle. Conversely, inconsistency can be seen in quick changes of attitude, in words that do not match actions, or in selective kindness, all of which signal a character that is dependent on external factors rather than grounded in internal truth. Observing consistency over time allows one to separate genuine behavior from performance, to recognize depth over superficiality, and to understand that integrity is a continuous practice, not a temporary choice. Consistency also builds emotional intelligence and reliability because it demonstrates awareness of one's impact on others. A person who consistently shows respect, patience, and empathy signals that she considers the feelings and needs of those around her as part of her everyday practice, not as an occasional gesture. Over time, these repeated behaviors create patterns that communicate care, responsibility, and authenticity more powerfully than words alone, and they reveal that true character is measured not by isolated moments, but by the unbroken thread of actions, thoughts, and feelings that define a person's life and choices. Red flags in seconds are the subtle warnings that appear almost imperceptibly, yet they reveal so much about a person's true nature. Often we are drawn to charm, beauty, or charisma, and we overlook the quiet signs that signal deeper issues, but it is in these fleeting moments that a person's habits, attitudes, and priorities are revealed with startling clarity. A glance, a word, a small gesture, or even a pause can indicate impatience, selfishness, dishonesty, or disrespect long before bigger problems emerge. The truth is that character cannot hide entirely. No matter how carefully someone tries to present themselves, it slips through in micro expressions, subtle choices, and instinctive reactions. Observing these red flags requires attention, patience, and awareness because they are often drowned out by the excitement of first impressions or the allure of surface level appeal. Yet failing to notice them can lead to disappointment, heartbreak, and confusion over time. Red flags are rarely loud or obvious. They exist in subtleties, in behaviors that seem insignificant at first, but accumulate into patterns that are impossible to ignore. For instance, a woman who dismisses others' feelings, interrupts constantly, or reacts with impatience to minor inconveniences may appear harmless in one moment, but these tiny behaviors hint at a lack of empathy, a self-centered mindset, or emotional immaturity. Similarly, repeated exaggeration, half-truths, or inconsistencies between words and actions can indicate a habit of manipulation or avoidance, showing that trust may be difficult to build. These red flags are rarely intentional. They are often unconscious reflections of personality and values. Yet, even in their subtlety, they offer critical insight into how someone will respond under stress, in conflict, or when the stakes are high. Learning to notice these indicators in seconds can save time, energy, and emotional investment because they provide an early glimpse into behaviors that may later manifest in more significant and consequential ways. What makes red flags in seconds so powerful is that they are instinctual and revealing, often appearing before a person has a chance to craft a facade or adjust to expectations. When someone reacts impulsively, whether through tone, body language, or choice of words, it is a direct reflection of underlying attitudes, priorities, and emotional tendencies. A quick judgment, a sarcastic remark, a dismissive gesture, or subtle rudeness may seem trivial, yet these are signs of deeper patterns that can affect relationships, trust, and mutual respect. Over time, repeated small actions that contradict kindness, honesty, or consideration create a trail of evidence that exposes whether a person is consistent, empathetic, and reliable. or whether they are primarily self-focused, defensive, or manipulative. Red flags in seconds are not about passing judgment. They are about awareness and discernment, understanding that authenticity cannot be fully masked, even for a brief moment, and that paying attention to these cues is an essential step in evaluating true character. Recognizing these early warning signs requires a delicate balance of observation and intuition. It involves noticing not just what is said, but how it is said, not just the action itself, but the energy behind it, and not just the immediate context, but the consistency with past and subsequent behavior. Someone may smile politely or offer surface level charm, yet the slightest disregard for others' emotions, repeated impatience, or lack of accountability can reveal a disconnect between outward appearance and inner values. These red flags act as subtle indicators, providing insight into priorities, emotional intelligence, and moral compass, and they often appear before more obvious conflicts or challenges, giving an early lens through which to gauge character in seconds. In the end, character is not something that can be measured by appearances, words, or fleeting charm. It is revealed in the quiet moments, in the seconds that matter, in the way a person treats others, responds under pressure, and stays true to themselves when no one is watching. First impressions, empathy, honesty, reactions to small gestures, consistency, and even the subtle red flags all form pieces of the same puzzle, a puzzle that shows who someone truly is, beyond the smiles, the laughter, or the words they carefully choose. The truth is that life gives us countless small opportunities to observe, reflect, and understand the people around us. And those who notice and pay attention to these moments gain clarity that others often miss. Character is not built in grand gestures. It is in seconds, repeated actions, and the choices that reveal the heart. When we learn to see beyond the surface and listen to these silent indicators, we not only protect ourselves from disappointment, but also find the rare and genuine connections that are worth holding on to.